the quiet signs that power is already collapsing. Most people imagine the collapse of power as something dramatic. They picture crowds in the streets, public outrage, leaders falling overnight. But history tells a different story. The most dangerous stage of collapse is not chaos. It is silence. It is the moment when everything appears normal on the surface. Yet beneath that surface, the system has already stopped functioning. Psychologists, political scientists, and organizational researchers have observed this pattern repeatedly, whether in governments, corporations, military institutions, or powerful organizations. Collapse rarely begins with rebellion. It begins with hesitation. And the first warning sign is surprisingly simple. Orders stop being executed immediately. At first, the change is subtle. Instructions are issued, but implementation slows down. Managers delay decisions. Departments wait for additional confirmation. People begin watching each other before taking action. Most observers mistake this for ordinary bureaucracy. It is not. What has actually changed is something much deeper. The psychological foundation of authority has started to crack. In healthy organizations, people assume that following instructions is safe. The unwritten rule is simple. If I do my job, the organization will stand behind me. But during periods of uncertainty, a new question emerges. What if I'm the one left holding the blame? The moment that question appears, behavior changes dramatically. People stop acting. They start calculating. Immediate execution becomes delayed observation. Obedience becomes interpretation. Action becomes risk assessment. Middle managers are particularly important in this process. The moment they suspect that leadership may not protect them in the future, the entire system slows down automatically. The organization is no longer driven by authority. It becomes driven by caution. People stop following orders. They start reading the room. Political psychologists have long noted that power depends on more than force. It depends on legitimacy. People obey not simply because they must. They obey because they believe authority will continue to exist tomorrow. Once that confidence weakens, something fascinating happens. An order is no longer treated as a command. It becomes one option among many. People begin asking different questions. Will this decision still make sense 6 months from now? What happens if new leadership takes over? Will I be blamed for this later? At that moment, loyalty begins to disappear. Future calculations replace present commitments. The center of gravity shifts from today's power to tomorrow's power. And that is when organizations become politically unstable. But there is another signal that is even more revealing. Information starts leaking everywhere, not through one source, not through one whistleblower, through many different channels at the same time. Journalists hear similar stories. Foreign media receive comparable reports. Online communities discuss identical rumors. Anonymous accounts publish matching details. The remarkable part is this: the sources are different, but the story is the same. That is rarely an accident. From a psychological perspective, this reveals a profound transformation. The organization is no longer thinking as a collective. Individuals have begun thinking about survival. Under normal conditions, institutions keep information inside. Information strengthens internal unity and limits external threats. During crises, the process reverses. People no longer believe the institution can protect them. And once that belief disappears, self-preservation takes priority over group loyalty. Employees, officials, managers, and insiders begin creating escape routes. Each person acts independently, yet they often arrive at the same conclusion. If things go wrong, I need evidence that I wasn't part of the problem. Political psychology offers another insight. Information is not merely information. It is insurance. Many insiders leak information not because they want revenge, but because they are preparing for a future they believe is coming. They want a record. They want proof. They want future decision makers to know that they were aware of what was happening. In this sense, leaks are often less about exposing the past than protecting oneself from the future. Criminologists recognize this pattern immediately. It frequently appears when cooperative groups begin to fracture. As long as everyone believes the group will survive, silence remains valuable. But once members suspect collapse is possible, the incentive structure changes completely. The rule becomes, the first person to talk may be the first person protected. That is why simultaneous leaks are such a powerful signal. They indicate that collective trust has already broken down. The organization may still exist physically, but psychologically it has already fragmented. What was once a unified structure has become a collection of individuals, pursuing separate survival strategies. And then comes the final signal, the one most people misunderstand, the sudden disappearance of loyalty messages. Many assume that when a system enters danger, supporters become louder. In reality, the opposite often happens. They become quieter. Public endorsements decline. Strong statements disappear. Influential figures stop taking clear positions. Media allies become less vocal. Official communication becomes vague. People stop speaking. Why? Because speech creates evidence. Every public statement becomes a potential liability. Every endorsement becomes a permanent record. Every declaration ties an individual to a specific outcome. During stable periods, visibility is rewarded. During unstable periods, visibility becomes dangerous. The safest strategy becomes silence. Organizational psychologists describe this as risk minimization. Political psychologists describe it as strategic ambiguity. Criminologists call it preemptive distancing. Different disciplines use different terms, but they are all observing the same behavior. People quietly creating distance before accountability arrives. They are not necessarily changing their beliefs. They are changing their exposure. The public often mistakes this silence for neutrality. It is not neutrality. In many cases, a decision has already been made. The individual simply refuses to reveal it, because once a position is announced, future options disappear. And so they wait. They observe. They calculate. They remain silent. History repeatedly shows that institutions do not collapse when everyone stops believing. They collapse when enough people begin protecting themselves instead of protecting the system. That transition is rarely visible to outsiders. There are no alarms, no announcements, no official declarations, only small behavioral changes, orders that move more slowly, information that travels more freely, voices that suddenly grow quieter. Individually, each signal may seem insignificant. Together, they reveal something profound. The system may still look powerful, but psychologically, the collapse has already begun. If you found this analysis valuable, subscribe to the channel, share this video, and leave a comment below. Understanding human psychology is often the key to understanding history, before history reveals itself.